Go. All right. Hello. What is up? What is up, Miss Villagers? I'm happy to see y'all. I am going to. Damn it. All right, let's try that again. I am hoping that you guys can see me. This is the first time we're doing video, second time we're doing this AMA, so I'm hoping that this is coming across well. Okay, Geneva says you can see me. Great, then I will scroll back up to where the question started. So anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. It just started being fall around here in Atlanta in the last like 2-3 days, which is awesome and fun. I wore pants for, I want to say, the first time since 2019. It's a very weird experience. My legs felt a little trapped, but my ass looks good in jeans, so that's always a plus. What else is going on? I'm having a lot of fun with my challenge coins. I think we're going to be doing new ones soon. We got a little gnomes rule. Yeah, the motto there. So that's cool. Writing's going really well. I've been diving into that a bunch. A magic system that was just driving me up the wall probably for like 2 months because it didn't feel quite right is now totally in sync, so that's awesome. What else is going on? I saw Shang-Chi. Thought it was pretty good. Honestly, I feel like it could have been 2, maybe even 3 movies. I think that like the world that they built there was pretty cool. The action is definitely cool. Definitely messing around with what if a bunch as well. And yeah. As far as the books, like I said, those are going well. I'm anticipating 9 coming out later this year. Again, I'm not going to make any solid promises because the muse comes when she comes, and I hate infuriating you guys when I need to move it. But I'm just telling you that that's the way I'm feeling, and it's the words are flowing really, really well. God's Eye, ideally early next year. And I say the other really big announcement is that we are going to have the first ever Lit RPG convention. What? Bow, 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 bow. I gotta get some sound effects for this thing. So yeah, we're gonna be getting a Lit RPG convention going on. It's gonna be virtual. We already have an amazing number of awesome authors and narrators that are gonna be joining in and doing that. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be October 23rd to the 26th. It's gonna be going right up to Lit RPG Day, the day that the group was founded and Lit RPG entered the social media world. And I don't know, like I've told you guys before, when I first found Lit RPG, I just absolutely fell in love with it. And then we, it grew and grew, and it grew through a lot of hard work from myself, from the mods, from other authors, from you fans. And now it's just sort of grown so far beyond, anything that I ever expected. And I think it's great to celebrate that and to celebrate those of you that also have the true love for Lit RPG. So, litrpg.com is going to have updates. We're not putting out the specific schedule yet, but we'll do that probably in about a week or so. And then there'll be sign up for questions and things like that. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope, I hope that you guys will join us in for that. Let's see what else is going on. The comic is coming along really, really well. I honestly feel like the artists are even getting better. As they're getting more comfortable with the characters. I'm doing some cool one-off art from other artists that are like around the world. So I know like I was really on the art for a while, and then it just sort of fell off, especially with COVID and everything. But like I love creating, like actually visually bringing the books to life. So we're doing that, and not just for like book 1 that's following the comic, but I think for some of the other books as well. So for anybody that has a specific scene that they want to be created in the visual form, hit us up, and I'll try to move it to the front of the queue. All right. Well, let's get into some of these questions. I think we'll start on, I think that was November 22nd, 19th. Okay. Yeah. All right. So there's a lot of Beware the Curse. Let's see. All right. Have Aleron take you to the boneyard for margaritas next time you come down. All right, so just a lot of good fun hijinks. Let's see where the first question starts. All right, I'm just gonna randomly stop scrolling and go here. Okay. Where is it? All right. So yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of back and forth, and I'm not seeing if I've seen. So if there's any new, I'm going to start at the bottom then and see if there's any questions that people really want to get into. All right. So Alex21 says, do you have a favorite lit RPG series or idea used in a different series that you find really cool or interesting? One of my favorite things about lit RPG is that I honestly feel like it's one of the most expansive types of literature out there. I mean, literally, it can be any kind of game that you can think of, and that's anything under the sun. And I think that the accountability that lit RPG has for itself and staying within a well-defined system makes it a lot more enjoyable and exciting than just sort of a generic or general fantasy or sci-fi, because, you know, it's like, how are they going to get out? How are they going to get out of it? And then suddenly they just sort of do this thing that the author says is like, you know, enough. And then suddenly, oh my God, they won and the forces of darkness are vanquished. And in lit RPG, you have to be accountable to the system that you've well prescribed and created. Believe me, I know the one or two times that I've gotten the math wrong, my fans have landed on me like a sumo wrestler. So I think that, like, if you want to write a good one, the balance you want to strike is that you want a system that is relatively simplistic, but can be extrapolated out to a great deal. I think that the author of Reborn Apocalypse did that really well. He's got basically the humans can buy various things in a shop, and then they, but then there's a limit on how many abilities they're going to have at a time. So, I mean, by basically just making some arbitrary rules and then having to act within them, it creates a bit of stress and drama for the character, but also creates a way for them to get much powerful, but puts a cap on their power, and there's things that go through. And I mean, again, we're all different types of gamers, but for me, the exciting part was the grind. It was the world discovery, and then the progression and getting my guys stronger and stronger and stronger. And then once they kind of got strong enough that, like, they couldn't be beat, like, you know, in Oblivion when I had all chameleon armor and nobody could even see me, I lost interest within like half a day. I never picked it back up again. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a really, really good one. I think that the world building and sort of just like creativity of Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword God was really, really amazing. And then I give the shout out regularly, but I'm going to give a shout out to Vasily Manahinko. He's a man who made mining for rocks and killing rats interesting for an entire novel. And I think that, again, just taking a very simplistic system and then sort of showing the various ways that it can be applied is a very fun, creative, and honestly almost a test of the measure of how good a lit RPG author is. It's not just in, you know, being able to write the fantastic, though obviously that makes it an enjoyable story. It's also in being able to look at the simplistic and then find new ways to apply it to keep it fresh. So yeah, I'd say that's my answer. All right. Let's see. All right. So Michelle says, all right, so we're talking about the bag of holding. All right. So this is people responding. You know, I think we're going to implement a new system on questions for Aleron, that if there's a question, put 2 question marks first to make it a lot easier for me to find the actual questions. All right. So let me skip to the bottom again. All right. Eldrick Dragonwing says, Aleron, can the quickening make a seed core, the hearth tree, and if so, when might it make one? I'm guessing you meant like the hearth tree. So I guess it's not really a spoiler. No, the hearth tree of Hisako's hearth tree, like I talked about, is a massively enhanced type of hearth tree for sprites because of her place of power. And it's not that every magic tree can make a seed core that can sort of grow anything else. A seed core is a function of hearth trees that then spawn everything else. That's why it's called a hearth tree. So no, there will be no seed cores coming from the quickening, but I promise you there are many, many quickening hijinks coming. All right, so Zenby says, Aleron Kong, do you have notes so you keep the rules of the land straight? I do. I have countless numbers of reference documents. And honestly, one of the things that I do to prepare for the next book is I just read my series again. I just sort of go through, I make sure that I'm being accountable to everything. And honestly, there's a lot of ideas that, you know, even I will go through and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be great, but I don't want to do it now. I want to do it in like 5 books, and I'll tease it out. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's that idea that I had 3 years ago, kind of thing. So it's absolutely necessary for me. But yeah, I honestly feel like writing a lit RPG is a lot more difficult, I think, than writing other books, because while the system in some ways can keep you accountable and allows for, I think, a greater authenticity to writing, if you're really into the number crunchy kind of lit RPG, like me, then yeah, just sort of like keeping the numbers straight, making sure that it's accountable, making sure that everything's consistent. And then also, like, when I'm writing the book, if I decide to sort of meander off or shift something, sometimes it'll change calculations through like the entire book, and then that's another hour of my life gone. So yeah, lots of reference documents, lots and lots. But it's what lets me like put out the works that I do, and you guys seem to like that. I'm just reminded. So I am actually sitting in a new chair right now. This is my new writing chair, and the old throne, which, as you can see, has a little bit of wear in it, and clearly my posture is sort of leaning to the left, is right there. And I was going to get rid of it until my friend was like, "That's ridiculous. You wrote 9 books in that. What if somebody wants it?" And I'm like, "Well, who would want that?" And then I asked Geneva, and she's like, "Oh, somebody might want it." So we're gonna have an absolutely ridiculous sort of non-giveaway giveaway to auction off the chair, and all proceeds are going to go to an amazing charity that we haven't chosen yet. But yeah, so that'll be going, and so if anybody ever actually wants it, then I guess it'll depend if you pay for shipping. I don't even know how we would ship this, but I just started saying after nine books, I'm now finally in a new chair, and I will say that it is highly uncomfortable, the old one. I do not recommend sitting in it, but I was able to write 9 books with it. So, it's just sort of like a passing of the guard. I thought I'd give my old chair a shout out. Yeah. Let's see. So Tech Monitor says, so Father of Liturgy, have you snuck any references from any of your proverbial kids into the books that we haven't noticed? I'm not sure what you mean by kids, but I have absolutely snuck references in that I still haven't seen anybody actually find. Some of them are very, very deep cuts. My movie knowledge is strong and goes back many, many years. So it's always fun when people find it. It's even more fun when someone makes a connection that absolutely was not there or planned at all. I think my favorite so far is somebody who damned me to hell because of chapter 37. Yes, if you guys don't know, I'm sure you know, but chapter 37 is a very distinctive chapter in all literature history. And he says, "I will never read this blasphemy again. 7 is the holiest of numbers, and all know that the Trinity is the holiest of concepts. So by him making a 3 and a 7, that is the holiest of chapters, and he shit on it." So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how we became the dominant species, but yeah, it's fun stuff. All right, so Little Dick Dill said, ooh, I'm super curious about the cobalt egg. Will this be in the next book? And I do believe what we all know we need to do to Little Dick Dill. So sorry, Little Dick. You asked for it. All right, let's see. Davern says, "Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword God is awesome, although I was really excited to have finished it. Something to keep going. Now I'm annoyed and trying to forget about it for a year or two." I get it. But I'm happy that they came back, right? I mean, after that long hiatus, at least he came back and tied this story together, I feel happy that happened, And plus, I mean, while not all the chapters for Reincarnation were stellar, there was so much gold. It was so great for so many times, and again, just the creativity, the fantasy, the possibility, right? I think sometimes when we're reading fantasy books, I think we lose sight of the fact that it is that the fantasy itself that sort of makes it so amazing in a lot of ways. Fantasy, the true power of sci-fi and fantasy is that it's able to make a scenario outside of the norm in our world that we then put people in, and then it lets us examine the people to understand ourselves to a greater extent. But it's only possible by moving beyond the boundaries that we self-construct in our own worlds and in our own minds on a daily basis. So I don't know, with Reincarnation, I just thought it was a very, very creative world that he made, and I'm so happy that the book exists. So, all right. So Legend says, "Aleron Kong, how do you track open quests?" So yes, I have massive spreadsheets that I have to reference all the time. Will we get an office tour to show you? You know, honestly, yes, not right now, because it looks like all the various parts of my life have thrown up on my desk. We will do that next time. No problem. Zinby want to know, what are the old chair stats? Well, there is a +3 to ball must, yeah. +9 to creativity. +8 to need of chiropractor. You know, it's just the gift that keeps on giving is what it is. All right, so Tadpole Axe says, could Richter use forge points to create a baffled alcove in the forge to make it safer to enchant things? So yes, I mean, in strong work on coming up with the with the architecture term of a baffled alcove. But yeah, I mean, you can use the points to alter the shape of the forge in various ways. So yeah, you absolutely do that. But Richter has to physically be touching an enchantment. So yes, could make it safer for everybody else. But you know, if you're a tough dwarf, you know, you got to expect a little shrapnel. Little shrapnel will come your way. Or if you ask more other questions too much, then you also get a little shrapnel. So Legend is asking, does Richter still have his free purchase from the Sea of Chaos? He absolutely does, and that will be coming into play sometime soon. And Talkmotter says somebody needs to make a GIF of a Richter huge person hurling a bag of unpopped popcorn at someone. I absolutely agree. Or, you know, better a popcorn grenade that can then shower somebody with popcorn shrapnel. So that's what's gonna happen. Sorry, little Dick, you got popcorn shrapnel. And so Bimbo says, don't even know if this is an answer, but obviously Richter has respawns. Does he have a normal lifespan? Would he theoretically die old? It's a very common question. This unfortunately falls under spoiler stuff. So we will into the lifespan of Richter. But I will tell you that it's only been about 6 months since he's been in land, so his lifespan, we have a good number of years to be together. So no stress. Okay, so 13 Racken wrote a 7-part question. Sorry, 13 Racken. You're gonna have to pick one of them, and I will come back. Okay, so this is a good one. Striker 10 says, if two tier 2 people have a child together, is the child born as tier 2? So in the land, tier 2 affects multiple things about you, and because it's an ascended form. So moving to tier 2 doesn't just do the things that were described that Richter was able to choose from, but there's also, you know, just sort of a general enhancement of who and what they are. So two tier 2 people having a kid would definitely not have a normal kid, but he wouldn't necessarily be an ascended kid unless there were certain other conditions that were met. It's a good question. I actually spent a good amount of time working that out myself for a possibly potential future storyline. So, all right, let's see if I can find another question. All right, so Dr. Jeff is having a God's Eye question. What? We don't get those a lot. God's Eye question related to faith points. I know that new faith points are generated each worshiper on every 10 day, and I believe the amount is based on the level of devotion overall of the tribe. Other than on 10 day, how else? All right, so these are just all spoilers, Dr. Jeff. Dr. Shrapnel Popcorn is what we're going to call you. All right, so we're not answering one. Do we know how many FPs will be generated on a faith day? So for this upcoming 10 day, it is going to be obvious. It's going to be based on the number of living worshipers that he has. So that I will answer. Number 3, do we know if faith points are generated before or after he create? All right, so that is a spoiler. We'll be coming into that. Is there anything else we need to know about faith points? Lots of things. Oh my God, Dr. Jeff, you are. Yes, it's like I just gave you the book of my life, and you're trying to jump to the middle, buddy. You know, you gotta ease in with me. You gotta ease in with me. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, all right. All right. So we're talking about Ponzi schemes and souls here. It's really interesting reading these backwards, not knowing what is happening. All right. Ask authors. I don't know. I've done the arc. So now we're talking about arc readers. So yes, as right now, the arcs are closed, but we may have an arc contest in the next little while. Probably not for 9. Probably for book 2 for God's Eye, because 9 is just so massive. I got to go with my tried and trusted crew But yeah, Geneva has a whole way to do that, so you can hit her up. All right. Okay, so let me scroll. So I'm not seeing any more scrolling out. Let me scroll down. All right. Do beings get bloodlines at conception or birth? Yes, they can, depending on what kind they are. Oh, it's not letting more than 25 join because we're on video? That's weird. All right. Well, then I will hop off and then join as voice. Okay, well, let's try that. All right. Okay, so now I'm on his voice. Geneva, can you hear me? Okay. And are more people able to join? Is it just too much awesome at one time for Discord? Is that what's going on? Okay. Glad you're here, Cave Manga Man, me Ming Man. Yes. So again, and Geneva's going to put this at the top at some point in time. But from now on, when you have a question, put 2 question marks in front of it. That'll let me find it a lot easier in between people responding and having fun, which definitely I want. But I want to be able to go, oh, boom! Legend is following the protocol. And I am a big fan of protocol, and my friends absolutely hate it. And I'm like, suck it, suckers! I make your life better. All right. So Legend says regarding God's Eye, the text states that Prime Relic can be hidden in Fell Zone. What is the comparable size of a zone? Is it like a country or a continent? Yeah, I mean, roughly, it's sort of like a continent. It's sort of like a like Eurasia would be a zone. It's possible to have smaller zones if certain conditions are met. It's possible to have a zone with that's only ocean or there's some type of typically inaccessible topography. I actually spent a lot of time working on various sort of like fun things to do with that. But for now, and for the next book or so, you can just sort of think of zone as like that's the spot that you're in. That's how you're rolling. As far as your second question, Legend, you just got trapped to popcorn. No, come on. You knew that was not going to fly. You knew. All right, so Blackstaff Chris says, during my current read-through, I focused on the Adventurer Specialization bonus. One of the boons is a 30% increase in ambient mana seepage. Is that bonus additional? So it's funny. We talked about this last time. So it would be slightly different, actually, than the mana seepage of his awakening powers. So, like, being on a place of power means that it is a font right there. By unlocking more powers, it helps Richter, but also there is a effect for the world, in that you can sort of just think of it like the font of power is uncapped to a certain extent. The energy and magic that's coming from the dungeon is an extension of the labyrinth itself, which is the sort of superstructure universe of all other realities. So there's going to be a very, very different feel. And not to go too nuts with it, but I will say that the bottle of fairy water is going to be very important in several book lines coming up. So I hope you guys can go nuts and have fun with that. All right, let's see. So Alex21 says, what is your favorite creature you've used created in the land series? The Dark Aberration. That's the kind of person that I am. So live with that, Alex. Live with it. Davram, I'm glad you were able to just stop by. Glad you're part of the community, man. So Tech Matter says, for God's Eye, with the first 10 day about to arrive, as far as we know, can Zero Fellow recruit higher level souls? Okay, so again, man, so there's an excellent question, but super spoiler, dude. Super spoiler. I can't do it. Sorry. All right, we gotta get some more popcorn in here. All right, so Zimby says, do you have plans to make a series that is focused just on the labyrinth? I have announced before that there is a series in the works that I have been messing around with that will be called The Ballad of Roswan. And that is going to be dungeon and then labyrinth by extension, whatever. And then I have been working on just an entire series of cultures regarding Labyrinth life, but on it's much lower down on the projects that I'm trying to get done. I will say that every project that I'm doing, I think I've told you guys before that when I first started writing, and I thought about thousands and thousands of books that I've read throughout my life. What do I want to? What did I really want it to look like? And I decided the best fit for me was the Star Wars universe to a certain extent, not in any of the actual plot lines or lore of it, but just in how expansive it was. In that you can have a storyline that happens on one world and it's completely self-contained. You can have this empire, or you can have the empire, and then you can have, like a smaller sort of conglomerate or government over here. And then those storylines can cross, or there can be various things that happen at various time periods. So for me, writing my world, I will tell you that I think there's always going to be a potential for them being connected. I feel like most of you already figured out what the connection is between God's Eye and the land. I will not confirm anything. But yeah, so I guess I hope that answers. All right. All right, so Bimos also, let's say, just reached level 3. Congrats, Tring. I said I don't want to make the spoiler question, obviously, so I'm not asking if they will meet each other, but more, is it possible, or would magic systems fail if they left their planet? Is there something that ties them to their planet that they get rid of it? So I don't know which book series you're talking about. I will say that the magic system, I will say that I've worked really hard to have an underlying series of effects and underlying series of, I guess you would call them natural laws, that can be universally applicable, but how they manifest very much will be sort of, it's like basically like there's a one singular light, but then every world and or spot that you can be in like refracts that light to a certain extent. So that depends on like what people are seeing, what people are able to do. So there's an underlying method to the madness, and one of the hidden quests that I guess you just stumbled upon is can you find out what the underlying rules are as I introduce more books, more and more universes. So have fun with that. All right, T Galassi says, how did you develop the game system with the land in God's Eye? I've been trying to create one for my own RPG, and the sheer amount of work is mind-boggling. Yes, lots of hard work and frustration and drunken shenanigans and a lifetime of being a gamer and a book reader and whatever. When I first wrote the land, honestly, I just tried to think about what did other people get wrong that I want to get right? And honestly, I feel like the most distinctive thing about the land is the affinity system. It was what made it really real for me, and what has still kept it unique among basically any other book out there, I believe. For me, just the idea that life isn't fair. Some people are going to be better at other things, but it still sort of depends on hard work of them capitalizing on their inherent ability to reach certain levels and certain things. So for me, that was a very important, the affinity system was a very important aspect of how I wanted people to view the land. So the magic system grew out of the inherent message I wanted people to understand about the world that I was creating. If there's something that is really important to you, though it's not easy to make that mental leap, you can sort of think, okay, well, blah 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 is important to me. How would I make a magic system that would inherently reinforce that without any words ever needing to be spoken, kind of thing? I mean, that's what it was for me. I hope that helps in some way. All right, so Lord Richard B says, about the Labyrinth, seems to me that it's linking the land and Gaza, so they're going to be over some crossover. Crossovers, I don't even know what that means, but yes, that would be awesome one day if that could happen. All right. Let's say, are you planning on allowing other people to write canon stories? So I've gotten this question a bunch, and I've gotten offers from authors many times throughout the years. Some authors that I really think are great and respect. The short answer for now is no, for various reasons. I'm not going to go into them because I went into them last time. But I will just say that my worlds are very, very personal to me. And being able to share it with you in a way that I respect is a thing that's very personal to me as well. It makes like a covenant between us. So the idea of opening it up, yeah, I think that could be really, really cool. But I also think it could be a massive amount of extra work that takes away from me writing and living a life and other things. So as of now, no. But life is long, knock on wood. So perhaps later, yeah. Let's see. So Tyler says, is the land considered a dungeon labyrinth world? Well, it has a dungeon that is connected to labyrinth, so I will let you make your own estimation. Corpse Roomba says, are you planning to have the books be as expensive as Dragonlance? Is Dragonlance expensive? I'm pretty sure I bought my first Dragonlance for like 88 cents in I very distinctly remember this amazing like bookshop. It like had really high ceilings, so they had gotten shelves that went up like 10 feet, and there were stools everywhere that you had to step up, but there were also just boxes, cardboard ratty boxes of paperbacks in the bottom. And I still remember finding Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I bought it for 88 cents. Oh, he meant expansive. Okay, well then yes. And I'm glad I could share my Dragons of Autumn Twilight story with you. All right, so what kind of copyright rules are there for use of is just a reference of I don't know what you mean. All right, are any of your characters based on people from your real life? Yes, many of my characters are based on people from my real life. Some of them and I mess around with it. Some of them are named after people, and I make sure the character is nothing like them. Other ones are I've written characters that are based on various aspects of people that I know. Other ones are just sort of like funny one-liners for people that I've come across that I thought were great. So yeah, various things. All right, so Haven Malgrim says, are the affinities for Chaos Seeds determined randomly, or are they predetermined before they got to the land? So it's sort of like asking, are you predetermined to be born good at, soccer or the piano or whatever. I imagine that there are a number of sort of things that sort of go into it, some more important than others that may be disclosed in a later book. All right, Captain Spez, I still tall behind my belief the land will be a kick-ass anime. That's right, brother. And the webcomic solidifies that for me. I'm so happy that you are enjoying the webcomic. I am greatly enjoying it too. If the land or God's Eye were to expand beyond books or comics, what would you want that to be? Yeah, I mean, for me, the brass ring is getting into anime. Again, I believe we are now selling that I do coke for Netflix shirt on the website. But I will say that it would be very important to me to make sure that I was one of the writers in the room. I wouldn't be interested in somebody taking it and honestly giving it the Shannara treatment, just turning into some sort of MTV pretty nothing to do with the books, not so good kind of story. I'd rather it just not be made. I'd rather make it myself, which is something that I may just do one day. I've found many times that waiting for other people to get things done for you is sort of like, so it's a wait for a train, don't come, as the man said. But yeah, I would love to have it be an anime. I'd love to have it basically have the elements of awesome animes like Goblin Slayer, Grimgar, things like that, but also have the sort of irreverence of Boondocks and Archer. I'd love to see that come to life, and I will make you this promise, as I have said many times before: if the land is turned into an anime, we will not have Bulma filler episodes in the middle where she's learning how to make a hamburger. If nothing else, we will just have a bunch of violence in the middle if we need to pad out something. So just that is a promise from me to you. All right, let's see what else we can do. We are about 50% way done with the water, so we'll keep going until that's done. All right. Blackstaff says, when creating D&D campaigns, I find it difficult to think about other teams. How much do you spend time thinking about your books? It's constant. It's like asking a guy how much time he spends thinking about sex. I mean, it's just constantly there in the background. So there's times where I think about it more intensely, and there's times that I think about it less. But I really just sort of just enjoy the act of creation and making these books. So the way my mind works is that it's a different engine to a certain extent, where there's like, you know, mathematical problems, social issues, whatever, that are constantly going on in the background. And then one day I'll just be walking along and go beep, boop, boop, and the answer pops out. So yeah, I mean, it's an all day, every day kind of thing. Let's see. All right. So Caveman Manga says, can you estimate how many physical books you own? So I have a private library. Actually, I'll give you guys a tour of that little private library when I give you guys a tour next time. Not now, because again, there's just so much everything everywhere. Also, I'm not wearing pants, so I just don't feel like walking around and giving you guys a show for free. But yeah, I've got an awesome private library of my own books that I love, but then also books that are signed by some of the greats, Sanderson, Butcher, Brent Weeks, and many awesome Lit RPG authors as well. So I'll be happy to share that with y'all. So Captain says keep Shyamalan away from this community. Okay, so I give Shyamalan a lot of shit because I feel like he screws me every time. Hippies in the Woods, damn you, man. But I give him props for, I loved his superhero trilogy. You know, I thought Glass was an amazing, awesome movie, a really, really cool concept. I would love to see him expand that universe more, though he says that's the one he's done with. And I recently saw Old, which was an interesting concept. You know, it wasn't too bad. So you know, yeah, he just infuriates me a lot of the time, but you know, he does do some good stuff. All right. So is there a difference between the Dungeon of Bloody Chaos and the Ancient Dungeon? Yes. So Dungeon of Bloody Chaos is a capital D dungeon, and the Ancient Dungeon is a lower D dungeon. It just talks about the age of the dungeon, not necessarily that it is connected to the labyrinth, which is what the capital D is. All right. So yes, Corpse Ronda, you are definitely in spoiler territory about what would happen to a non-chaos seed touching a chaos fragment. But I think we also can remember from book 6 that certain sorts of chaos will change the environment around to boom. Tyler Carroll says, why are unicorns in the land? Who says that they aren't? Like if you ever see a guy riding on a horse's head, that is a unicorn. That's how he's holding on. Apparently I passed my attention threshold. Well, it's having a talk. And so Vesgard says, I'm sorry if this has been asked, just joined. Is there any update on how far you are with book 9? So I'm not giving updates on specifically how far I am with the books. I did say that I am hoping for the end of the year. That seemed pretty realistic, but I'm not going to do updates anymore because sometimes I have to stop for family issues or the muse just leaves me for a little bit, and I really hate the angst of having to push a specific date back. So I'm giving like just the basic, like this is what we're going for. But sadly, I'm just not the kind of guy that's going to give more specifics than that. All right, so T. Glassy is asking, what is the process when writing? Do you hit a certain word count? I do not. I am not one of those. I know a lot of authors do. I will just write when I want to write, and I stop writing when it's time to stop writing. If there's something that conceptually is not even in this book, but it's bothering me and it's going to be 5 books later, I may stop writing until I've noodled that out. Or, you know, I'll just knock out like 5 chapters in a day. Yeah, I mean, I let it flow. I always know where I'm trying to go. Like my outline is like, I want to get from point A to point B, but whether that's a straight line or a squiggle, I totally let the words guide me. That's how I do things. All right, so Tadball X says, is a treasure chest in the dungeon a single-use item, or would it be refilled over and over? Depends on, again, if we're talking about a capitalized treasure chest or not, that I made reference to in a little bit in 7 and definitely more in 8. Or if it's just like a one-time kind of deal, then that would be, you know, it sort of depends on how we're doing. Like, is it just a box that, you know, things might show up in, or is it an actual, the labyrinth treasure chest, which is like the kind of thing that kingdoms would fight over, depending. So, yeah. Big swallow. Okay. Legend says, are you planning on having an option to buy the entire series in hardcover? Geneva, I think we were supposed to do that. Let's throw that up there. So the landing sources, Richter needs a mount. Richter is in very tough, mountainous forested terrain. So I don't think that a classic horse might not be the best. It might not be the best for them to do. Will there be a concurrent paper and audiobook release? Probably not, honestly, because the narrators that I work with are so cool, super duper cool, and enough that they always leave little spots open for me for whenever I'm done. But since I'm not 100% sure yet, we don't have a specific time frame. So typically, I'm like, hey, I'm done, and they're like, or I'll be done in a month, and they're like, okay, well, I'm good in 2 months, and then that's why there's always a little bit of a lag. So probably not. Yes, Corpse Round, I can. Gnomes rule. All right. Are you gonna make an encyclopedia about the land in God's Eye? So I had a bunch of just super awesome fans that made the Chaos Seeds wiki, but they made it so detailed. They went to the math behind everything. And honestly, I told them to take a good amount of it down back in the day, because it was just a way for authors to sort of cheat and rip off my ideas and concepts and copy them. Which was personally annoying, but also just sort of limited the growth of lit RPG as a whole. One of the biggest fights that I would get into with authors on the reg was I wouldn't let them come into the lit RPG group and be like, hey, so what do you guys want to see, blah, 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 because there's just a lot of people out there that are just trying to basically just copy everything that's been out there without doing any work, turn something out and make a couple bucks. And I'm still in love with the genre, and I wanted to see it grow. So even though that was a big point of contention, I honestly feel like not making the group a reader-focused group rather than writer-focused and keeping out that kind of thing has stimulated all the many, many awesome different types of magic systems that we're all enjoying now in the various books. So, yeah, probably not going to make an encyclopedia anytime soon. Maybe in about 5 years. Maybe for the 10th year anniversary, I'll do it. Excuse me. Okay, so Legend's asking, when the text states for each treasure rank up to 10 plus 10%. Okay. All right, so neither one of those is exactly right, but you're much closer with the lesser one. Okay? There's not going to be a 10% chance of a legendary. You know what I'm saying? All right. Richter should travel to the plains of gold and tame a T-Rex. Best comment of the Discord. I am a fan of this. Awesome. And would you also, yes, and one of the reasons that it takes 4 to 6 weeks whenever you guys make a physical order is that every order I still personalize every single one, and it usually takes me a day to go through all of that, to pack it up, to put all in the extra swag, to sort of do whatever. It is super annoying, but also, I'm so very, very appreciative of all of you that I like to take the time to do that, but it does take a lot of time, so that's why. All right, it looks like we have gotten to the end of the questions. Okay, good things. I am really happy that you guys are here on the Discord with me. This is a new thing that we're basically doing. I think we had a fan or two start one before or whatever, but this is the first time that we're really, really getting on top of it. So if there's anything that you guys see in other Discords that you think we could do better, please send Geneva a message, and we will absolutely get on that. If there's anything else that you guys sort of want to touch base, I love hearing from people. All of my links are on litrpg.com. It's very difficult to forget the name of my website. So you can hit me up on Facebook. You can hit us up here. I'm not necessarily checking a lot of messages here because I don't know how to use Discord yet. I'm still learning it. But you can email me, richter@litrpg.com. But yeah, I just really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for spending your day with me today. And I really look forward to LitCon. That's going to be coming up in a month. And again, you can find details on litrpg.com. And yeah, you guys are awesome. I just put up there's a new comic up on litrpg.com right now. If you guys want to go check it out, a new episode. Okay, I'm heading out. As always, peace, love, fervent margarita. Bye.
Thank you.